Thank you again, Ogawa-san, for making this happen. Thank you, Masa and Tanaka-san for hosting, and everyone for listening, and Gilad for the great presentation. Quickly about myself, if anyone hasn't met me yet, I'm a VC investor and an entrepreneur for the past 20 years. Founded Me Fund and Labs together with Masa, have been working with Japanese companies in a variety of sectors. Again, together with Masa for the past 7 years. And let me just go straight to the presentation. As Gilad mentioned, things continue happening in Israel, and a lot of innovation and action innovation is taking place right now. Gilad mentioned this deal that you see on the left side in November, less than a month, or maybe a month after October 7. This deal took place, and I'm showing it not only to show that things continue happening very quickly after October 7, but this deal is exactly touching one of the points that I'm going to talk to in a few minutes. Keep this in mind. Talon was sold. This is a cyber company, okay? And I won't get into the technology, but Talon is a startup company. It was sold for 600 million plus for future payments, but 600 million right now. In November 2023, and the company was created in 2021. So in a little more than 2 years, this company created huge value for the investors, and a technology that was very attractive and was acquired by the company, the biggest cyber company in the world in terms of market cap, by Palo Alto. 2 years only. So think about the speed, because speed is going to be something that we're going to talk about. That's November. Many things happen. I'm taking only anecdotes. In December, just a month ago, Intel announced a $25 billion investment in a new plant in Israel. Until today, Israel invested in plants in Israel in about 50 billion. But this $25 billion in a single plant, I think it's the biggest that Intel has ever done. And it may be the biggest investment in Israel by a single company ever. And that's happened just a month ago. And that's a different industry. The previous one is cyber. This is a semiconductor. And we can have a whole session about semiconductors, because Israel is a little superpower in semiconductor technology. And just a few weeks ago, in January, the Israeli Ministry of Health approved for the first time in history in any country the marketing of meat, so sliced meat steaks, thin steaks that are cultured meat. So this meat that you see here is not coming from an actual cow, but from cow cells that are grown with the technology of Aleph farms. Some of the leading cultured meat companies in the world are Israeli, but this is the first time ever that any country in the world is approving cultured meat for commercial marketing. And very soon we will be able to have here in Israel steaks that even vegetarians can eat, because they don't come from living cows, but rather from cultured meat. So this is actual meat, not meat imitation, grown in a plant rather than in a cow. So these are just few examples of things that are happening right now in Israel, very soon after October 7th. So a lot of innovation is happening, and if you want to participate as an outsider, as a non-Israeli, you face challenges. You will always be facing challenges when we're doing business in another country, especially innovation business. There are, the classical challenges, but I want to mention a few challenges that are more unique to Israel. And that's a selected list. I can give you more, but I think these are some of the more interesting challenges. So first, Israel is very condensed, very concentrated in startup. If you look at the numbers, we have more than 7,200 startups today in Israel with more than 350 active investors. If you compare the numbers to, for example, to what's happening in Japan in terms of number of startups, this is 10 times more concentrated, meaning 10 per capita for the population of the country, more concentrated than in Japan. And this might be very confusing to someone that is looking to invest in innovation in Israel coming from the outside. I have, and I think Masa may remember, one of our first projects here. I don't want to mention the names of the people, of course, in the company, but I remember a Japanese executive after spending several weeks with us and coming over to Israel for 2 days of meetings with companies. In 2 days, he and his team members came with him, met in 2 days of visit in Israel, 24 companies that we very carefully selected. And I remember his face after the first 2-3 meetings. His mind said, wow, luckily I'm meeting exactly the company that I want to invest in. And that's the first 2 meetings. And then the meetings continued. And then the next day, and after 12 or something meetings, he turned from being very happy to being very worried. And then he stopped the meeting at some point after in a break and told us, what's going on here? Every company I see I want to invest in, it can't be. It can't be like this. Something is not right. How do I make a decision? I cannot invest in all of them. So, and this is exactly a situation that you get into when there is such concentration of innovation in one place. So challenge one, it may be very confusing coming from the outside too. Second point is some of the best companies that you could put your hand on here will not be accessible to you. Some of the better startups are for what I call inner circle only. You won't even see them. You won't know that they exist until it is too late. And the reason is that the investment ecosystem here is already so evolved that there are powerful players and powerful relationships. And on the right-hand side, you have an example. Payoneer is an Israeli unicorn that started maybe 20 years ago. Okay, it's in the fintech sector. Now, the list of companies that you see in this box below Payoneer, you have 15 companies. All of these startups came from Payoneer management people that at some point left Payoneer and started their own company. So these are all not direct children of Payoneer, but when each of these companies started, you can just imagine that the first money that they got very likely came from either Payoneer, their partners in Payoneer, their former partners, or investors of Payoneer that enjoyed the success and wanted to invest in anything that came out of that team again. So most chances are that no Japanese company or any other investor that was not related to the pioneer investment itself was lucky to put their hands on any of these companies that came out of that team. And by the way, if Payoneer was a unicorn is a company that is private, not public, and reach $1 billion valuation or more, even before it gets to the public market. So even as a private company, at least one of these companies here is also a unicorn, Iron Source, that came out of one of Payoneer's team members. So this is a closed there, and there are so many such examples of closed circles where innovation is being born almost secretly, with no chances for you from the outside to put your hands on. A third challenge that I want to mention here is the need to make quick decisions. Things happen so fast here that you need to make a decision in many cases very quickly, especially with the most interesting investments or the most interesting deals. And if you're coming from the outside and you're not here in any way, it is very hard to catch these opportunities or to make these decisions. And the decisions can be both on the successful side, a company with, for example, I will talk about Upstream Bio that we created 2.5 years ago. I will talk about it in a few minutes. We raised in 2023, it was almost a year ago, we raised round B financing for Upstream, another $200 million investment. This $200 million round was closed even before it was open. We did not even have to officially announce a round, but the investors came to us to trigger the round. So no one had a chance to participate. Okay, it was so quick, and $200 million round. Okay, so you need to be able to make decisions very, very quickly. And the last challenge that I want to mention, and I'm sorry for going so quickly. If you want to ask a question, please stop me and interrupt. But the last challenge that I want to mention is the thin line between investing too early or too late, or doing a deal too early or too late. There's a very thin line here in Israel, again, because of the speed of how things are happening. In the bottom, there's a chart that if some of you were on October 5th in the meeting in Tokyo, I showed this chart, and I'm showing it here again to stress this point of the thin line between too early and too late. What do I mean a thin line between too early and too late? You don't want to invest in a technology when it is too young, when it is too early, when there's no proof of concept, right? But in Israel, if you wait for too long, it's turning very quickly from too early to too late. By too late, I mean either someone else put their hands on the technology, or the value became so high that you have to pay a very high price for it. If you look at the bottom of this page, you see a chart of relating to unicorns. This is a chart from Stanford University. They researched unicorn companies, meaning companies that created very high value and very quickly, even before going to the public market. So reaching a valuation of more than $1 billion as a private company, even before going public. And they looked at which universities the founders of these companies came from. So here you see a list of the top 15 universities outside the US where unicorn companies came from. And you can see that out of this list, number 1, number 3, number 4 are Israeli universities. And out of the whole top 15 universities in this list, 5 are Israeli. For me, other than being very proud of innovation that is coming out of Israel, it means that in Israel, in Israeli companies, in the good cases, value is building up very quickly. And it means that the company is going from too early to invest in to too late to catch a good opportunity very, very quickly. So you need speed, again, in making decisions. I hope I was clear on these 4 challenges. I'm moving next. So what do you do? So if you have these challenges, how do you participate in innovation coming from the outside? I list a series of classical models to participate in innovation. Here, we should not go one by one, but companies and Japanese companies create scouting offices here. They acquire companies. They invest in funds. They invest directly in companies, etc., etc. I want to show you what we did, Masa and myself, in Israel, a certain model, and maybe 2 examples of how this model can translate to actual participation in innovation. We created a strategic fund together with Maruho. Maruho, I hope you all know the company. It's the #1 dermatology pharmaceutical company in Japan. And what we did, we created a strategic fund, a venture capital fund that is completely aligned with Maruho's interest, where Maruho can take place actively in the investment process, not only in the decision making, but in the actual deal flow and looking at investments when they become interesting. And the structure itself guarantees that the Japanese interest is being served in a very unique way. So on the one hand, you have a structure where the Japanese company is very much involved and its interests are guaranteed. And on the other hand, you have a very strong presence here in Israel that allows you to handle all these challenges that I mentioned earlier. How does it work? We have a fund in a classical structure of a VC fund. So the investor has the majority of the share in the fund. The Japanese company is also involved in the investment committee. It cannot dictate decisions, but it is very much involved in the investment decision processes. This fund also created an R&D arm, so we can create companies ourselves. We can invest in existing companies and also create new ones. And in each and every company that we either create or invest, there will always be a very significant right for the Japanese company, a strategic right, either to have the market in Japan or have an important share of the company or secure licensing rights, etc.
で、お金を投資してるところは入らない。それで、投資を、だけど、一番投資をしてるからって別に、マルホがやるわけじゃない。で、その投資をするところには入れたので、結構それは、それだけじゃ、結構それは全体が見えるようにしといて、その方がいいと思って、それが後で進化することに影響してくるわけです。で、ラボも作ったっていうことによって、その早い段階のものとかを、そのラボでやることもできるようなことも工夫しましたので、OK, I get back. You can ignore me, please.
Okay, I will keep going. I will show you, we have quite a few portfolio companies, but I want to show you two examples that were possible only because we had this this type of structure in Israel. The first company I will talk about is Silverskate, Silverskate Bio. We created Silverskate exactly a year ago in January 2023. After following this technology for quite a while, the technology of Silverskate is coming from two academic institutions, an Israeli one and a Swiss one from Switzerland, Bar-Ilan University and the University of Geneva. And this is an extremely interesting molecule, first of its kind in the world. No company has developed anything like it. It's a completely new mechanism to treat autoimmune diseases and also neurological diseases. We identified the technology and looked closely at the data, followed the evolution of this technology. And when the time was right, we went for a deal. We signed a very good agreement with the universities. We recruited a CEO and created a small team. Again, we did it. It's not that we created the company and not invested in an existing one. And negotiated a very nice transaction with the universities where the fund invested relatively small amount, $1.5 million. We got a large majority share of the company and secured exclusivity to our Japanese partner in Japan once the drug is developed. This all happened in the deal with the university.
Eran,
Yeah.
actually, time is running out. So if it's kind of a shorten, that's very big.
Yeah. I will wrap this up in 2 minutes. I will not go to the second example. We got support, very significant support from the government. So additional budget coming from the government. And within 12 months only, the progress that is made in the company is very, very nice. We validated in the company the work that was done by the universities. We manufactured a batch of a pure active ingredient. We conducted studies that were very successful. And we're now discussing the next financing for this company, where we hope that part will come from the existing partner and more will come from new investors. Masa, if there's no time, I can stop here.
No, it's okay. You can go on. Tanaka-san needs to do something, but he says free, but actually, shorter people have more understanding. That was it. So don't worry. I love you.
Same here. But no problem, Masa. If we're out of time, it's okay. You tell me what to do.
No, we have time still. Okay, Tanaka-san will be back. He has something, those companies, but it's okay.
Okay. So just a quick word about what it's actually doing. The treatment is for a situation that's happening in many autoimmune diseases. And this is an illustration. These green ones are our immune cells. These are the cells that protect our body from bacteria and from other from viruses, etc. In autoimmune diseases, instead of attacking the enemies, they attack the body itself. And in this case, specifically, they attack the blood vessels, and they start crawling over the blood vessel, infiltrating inside, cracking it, and also swimming in it to other places in the body. And what this drug is doing is blocking here the ability to crack the blood vessels and move in the body. So it protects the blood vessels and it stops the disease from spreading in the body. So if this company managed to prove this in people, in patients, this will be revolutionary for the treatment of autoimmune diseases. So this is Silver Skate. Again, very quickly, in 1 year only, look at what the company was able to achieve. And this is a company that was created by a Japanese strategic player in Israel. I don't know of any other such example where the company was actually created with a Japanese player. I'm moving quickly to another example. Upstream Bio, I know we've discussed it in the past, and probably Masa have told you about it, but very, very...
Silver Skate, I have a question. For illustration, clarity, it's kind of, what are the really different elements from our type of work, or different elements of the creation of this new company?
Sure. Since we were, since we created this, we, the Japanese Israeli fund, created this, a few things are very special here. First, the Japanese player is the first to touch this technology. We took it out of the university. So it's a great example for being able to touch a technology before anyone else is doing this. Second, again, because we created this in partnership with a Japanese player, the strategy fits the strategy of the Japanese player. So among all the diseases that we can choose to treat, we are choosing the ones that are more interesting for the Japanese company. So the strategic fit is perfect for them. And third is that already at day zero, we secured the rights for Japan for the strategic player. So they know that for their most important market, they will have the right when the day comes and there is a drug in the market. Did this answer your question, Masa?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, I'm moving next to a completely different story. So story of Upstream is starting in Japan, not in Israel. Okay, summer of 2020, Astellas decides to sell an asset that it has, an antibody that it developed, a monoclonal antibody for treatment of a variety of inflammatory diseases. And Maruho want to buy this antibody and develop it to a drug. Okay, so two Japanese companies. One wants to sell, one wants to buy. The drug, the potential market is so huge, it's a multi-billion-dollar market. And therefore the price of this antibody is high. The price of the technology, it's at the very early stage. Most of the work done not in humans, but in animals and outside the body. So it's in the very early stage, but still the price is very high. And in addition to this, not only that the price of the asset is very high, this is a biological, so you need a very special expertise in a company to develop it. So Maruho is recruiting its abilities in Israel to help make this happen. And we form in Israel, we form a team, a very small team of a CEO plus 2 people. And together we create a plan for a new company that will be created to acquire this asset from Astellas and develop it. We create a company, we create a plan and a strategy, and we initiate a deal where we bring many investors, mainly from the US, but also from Israel, of course, in addition to Maruho. And we raised $200 million, mostly from some of the leading funds in the US. And we create a company in the US, Upstream Bio, led by an American CEO. So we transfer the leadership from Israel to the US after we create the company, and the Israeli CEO becomes the head of R&D for this new company in the US, and make sure that the first step that the company is taking are the right steps. Within this process, we secure the rights for the Japanese company in Japan, so it owns the rights in Japan. And after a long and intensive process, almost a little more than a year later, on October 2021, we create this company in the US, where there's an American team developing an asset that started in Japan with an initiative that came from Israel, where we created the plan and structured the whole deal and brought most of the money into the company. Now we are 2.5 years after the company was initiated. It is already with 40 employees, all of them in Boston. We just completed a very successful phase 1B with 32 patients, asthma patients, that completely confirmed the potential of this antibody. We raised an additional round of additional 200 million in order to carry out the phase 2 studies. And only a few weeks ago, the company launched 2 phase 2 studies, one in asthma and one is rhinosinusitis. Both of them are very big respiratory diseases. The collaboration with Maruho is excellent. At the same time that studies are done in the US, there was study done in Japan. Japan will be able to participate in future studies if Maruho wants. And again, Maruho will have all the rights to the drug that will eventually be developed. So they will not need to pay anything in addition to its investment. And of course, the investment that Maruho made in this in the beginning is worth much, much more today after the last round. I'm trying to be quick. So any questions about Upstream or anything else that I said before? This is again a second example of something that happened and that Maruho could do only because it had this presence and this team that we built in Israel.
Thank you. I think actually people are okay with the details. If you can let us know the 2 things, it's Maruho has evolved, is evolving, or how, why? Those 2 questions on my mind. So if you cover those 2 later on, I would appreciate it.
This is the end of my presentation, Masa. So any question is okay now.
Okay.
So what was the question about
one is
Maruho?
Maruho has been evolving. Maruho has been. How do you feel?
You mean through this work with Israel?
Oh yeah, that's what I meant.
I think that clearly it has, and I think that the difference between the first investment that we've made together and this last one in Silver Skate is exactly the example for this. Mm-hmm. The ability of Maruho to make such a decision and such an investment in a molecule that's probably one of the most advanced today in the world in the field of autoimmune diseases. This is a direct result of the years of working in Israel on new innovation.
Okay, and my second...
Maruho of 2016, 2017 would not have made this investment. It was too cutting edge, too complicated, too risky.
How come they could make? How come actually they could make that kind of a decision then later on?
What happened between
what changed
2017 and 2023?
What changed then?
I think the continuous interaction with innovation and the way innovation is happening in Israel,
I can say
gave them
making investment in VC and I working like this multiple facets, multiple dimensions are very different. So that's one way which I could say. But I just wanted to hear your observation or insights. So
I think it learned to work together with an Israeli team, and I think it got more confidence in working with Israel.
Okay. Okay, great. Thank you.